Hello everyone, this is Supriya Biradar. So today's topic of discussion is the circulatory system. So let's get started with our topic. So what is circulatory system? By the name itself, we can understand it is nothing but it is a transport system of our body. So what it transports? Here the question arises, what it transports, right? It carries the oxygen, nutrients and hormones to the cell, and it removes a waste product like carbon dioxide, urea and all the toxins which are produced by the body during the normal functioning of a body. So this is the definition of a circulatory system. Okay. Now there are two types of circulatory system. First one is a open circulatory system and second one is a closed circulatory system. So what is open circulatory system? Here the open circulatory system, here the first diagram is of an open circulatory system. When the blood is pumped out of a heart, now the blood passes through a large vessels, and through these large vessels, now this blood need to reach each and every part of a body, right? So for that, to reach each and every part of a body, there is no particular blood vessels or a pathway. There is no network of a vessels through which the blood can pass. So the blood is suspended into a body cavity. Now this blood flows into a body cavity, and through the body cavity, it reaches to each and every part of a body. So this is the open circulatory system. Okay, here as we see, there is no connection between the vessels. There is no vessels are present here. The vessels are not attached, and the blood is suspended into the entire body cavity, and through this and the blood moves to each and every part of a body. So example of an open circulatory system is a insects. All the insect shows have a open circulatory system. Okay, on the other hand, this is the diagram of a closed circulatory system. So here, when a blood is pumped out of a heart, now the blood moves to the large vessel, and then there is a passage of a network of a passage or a blood vessels through which there is a connection, interconnecting blood vessels through which the entire blood is passed through and reaches to each and every part of a body, through which the blood is reached to each and every part of a body through a network of blood vessels. So this type of circulatory system is called as a closed circulatory system. Example of this closed circulatory system is a chordata, right? Organisms of a chordata. Like we human also have a open circulatory system. So in this class we will study in detail about a human circulatory system. So what are the major components of a human circulatory system? First one is the heart, the blood and the blood vessel. These are the major components of a human circulatory system. Now what is human heart, or what is a heart? So heart, as we all know, it is present between the two lungs and slightly tilted towards the left side, right? It is slightly tilted towards the left side. Now heart, it is a muscular organs, and it is protected by a double membrane wall called as a pericardium. So what is pericardium? Pericardium is nothing but the outer covering membrane of a heart is called pericardium. So this is a very important point. So what is pericardium? Okay. Now, heart is called as a pumping organ. Why it is called as a pumping organ? Because heart pumps the blood out of the heart. So, the major function of a heart is to pump the blood out. Okay, out of the heart. So that's why it is called as a pumping organ, because it pumps the blood. Now there are four chambers of a human heart: right atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. Basically, two atriums and two ventricles. So this is the diagram of a human heart. This is the picture. Okay, so this is the right ventricle, right atrium, and this is the left atrium, and the bottom below two chambers are a ventricles. So this is the right ventricle and this is the left ventricle. So the right all the that is auricles, the two auricles are comparatively smaller than the ventricle. Okay, so auricles are comparatively smaller than the ventricles. Now, between the right auricle and right ventricle, there is one opening or a valve. The name of this valve is called as a what it is called, tricuspid valve. Okay, tricuspid valve. And there between a left atrium and left ventricle, there is a valve or opening called as a bicuspid valve. Bicuspid valve, or it is also called as a mitral valve. What it is called? It is also called as a mitral valve. Okay. Now, what is blood? It is a fluid connective tissue. It is a fluid connective tissue, and the major function of a blood. So it is a fluid connective tissue. It is a connective tissue and it is a fluid in nature. So hence it is called fluid connective tissue. So the major component, the major function of this blood is to circulate a nutrient or carries a nutrient, oxygen, hormones and minerals and all the essential component to each and every part of a body. So this is the major function of a blood. Now blood vessels. So blood vessels are nothing but these are a network for pathways through which the blood travels throughout the body. So it is nothing but a pathway or a passageway through which the blood travels throughout the body and reach each and every cell of a body. Okay, there are two types of a blood vessels. First one is artery and second one is a vein. So what is artery? So there is a one major difference between arteries and vein. You need to understand, and it is a very important point. Okay, so the arteries carries deoxygenated, it carries oxygenated blood. What? So it carries oxygenated blood. Here the question arises, ma'am, we know blood, but what is oxygenated blood? So oxygenated blood is nothing but the blood whose hemoglobin carries oxygen molecule. Okay, the blood which carries the oxygen, that blood is called as an oxygenated blood. Okay, it is also referred to as a pure blood. And the major arteries carries the blood away from a heart. Arteries carry blood away from a heart. Okay, so for example, this is the heart. Now the arteries carries the blood away from the heart and take to each and every cell of a body and each and every body part. Now on the other hand, veins carries a deoxygenated blood. What is this deoxygenated blood? The blood which carries a carbon dioxide, and waste product. So waste product produced by the cell during the basic normal functioning of a cell, waste product like urea and all the toxins which are produced by the cell. Basically, it carries a deoxygenated blood, means nothing but it carries a carbon dioxide and all the waste product. It is referred to as an impure blood. It is referred to as an impure blood. Okay. Here, the veins carries blood to the heart, or veins brings the blood to the heart. So veins, the major function of a vein is to bring the blood to the heart from all the body parts. So human circulatory system is a double circulatory system. So why it is called as a double circulatory system? I will explain this in detail in the next slide. Okay, there are two pathways through which the circulation occurs. So first one is a pulmonary and second one is the systemic. So what is pulmonary? Here the root word pulmonary, whenever you see a root word pulmonary, it is a root word for a lungs. Okay, it is a root word for a lungs. Why it is called as a pulmonary circulation? Because the blood enters from a heart and enters to a lungs. From a heart it moves to the lungs and then enters into heart. So this process, that is why here the involvement of a lungs is there. So hence it is called as a pulmonary circulation. Now this is a systemic circulation. Here the blood moves to each and every body part. The blood from a heart moves to each and every body part, and that type of circulation is called systemic circulation. So these two types of a circulation we will study by a rough diagram. Okay, now this is a very important slide. Okay, so this is a left atrium, sorry, this is a left atrium and this is a left ventricle. This is a right atrium and this is a right ventricle. So between the right atrium and the right ventricle, there is a valve. Valve is nothing but opening. The name of this valve is tricuspid. Okay. And between the left atrium and the left ventricle, there is a valve or opening called as a bicuspid. Bicuspid, or it is also called as a mitral valve. Okay. It is also called as a mitral valve. So don't get confused. So here there is a one vein called as an vena cava. So name of this vein is a vena cava. The upper part of a vein is called superior vena cava. Superior vena cava, and the lower part is called inferior vena cava. So as we know, it is a vein, and it is remember this is a fact, important fact, it is the largest vein. Okay, vena cava is the largest vein. So here the question comes, which is the largest vein? So the vena cava is the largest vein. So now this is a superior vena cava. The major function of a vena cava is to bring a deoxygenated blood, carry a deoxygenated blood to the heart. Deoxygenated blood to heart. But what is the function of superior vena cava? There is nothing difference, but one difference is that between a superior and an inferior vena cava, that superior vena cava carries a deoxygenated blood to the heart from the body parts which are present above the heart, all the body parts or all the body organs which are present above heart. So superior vena cava brings the blood from the body or organs which are present above the heart. So for example, if the blood superior vena cava carries a blood or carries deoxygenated blood or brings deoxygenated blood from a brain and all the upper body parts, and on the other hand, inferior vena cava also brings a deoxygenated blood, but it brings the blood from a body parts which are present below heart. Okay, so from a body parts which are present below heart, all the body parts which are present below heart, so from there the inferior vena cava brings a deoxygenated blood. Now this right atrium is completely filled with the deoxygenated blood. It is a, now it is filled with the deoxygenated blood. Now here the atrium contracts. Due to the contraction, the pressure generates, and due to the pressure, this tricuspid valve open. Now this tricuspid valve open, the blood moves, that blood flows from a right atrium to right ventricle. Here now this right ventricle is completely filled with deoxygenated blood. Okay. From the right here, as we all know, in a circulation, the major important organ is also lungs, also play a very important function, right? So from a right atrium, there is a one valve, one vein, one artery. So one artery which carries the blood from a right atrium to the lungs. So name of that artery is a pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery. Okay. So as I told you, there is a one exception to the artery, that all the arteries carries a oxygenated blood, but this pulmonary artery carries a deoxygenated blood. Okay, this is a very important fact. Okay, so this is exception to artery. All the arteries carries oxygenated blood, but this pulmonary artery carries a deoxygenated blood. Understand? This carries a deoxygenated blood and takes the deoxygenated blood to the lungs. It is also taking a blood away from a heart to the lungs, but the difference is it carries a deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Now here in the lungs, as we all know, there is a alveoli where the exchange of gases takes place. We have studied in respiratory system, and when we study about the lungs, we study that the small sac-like organelles, small sac-like tube-like present where the exchange of a gases takes place, right? So here in alveolar lungs, there is alveoli from where the exchange of a gases takes place. And this deoxygenated blood, which is now entered into a lungs, converted into oxygenated blood due to a exchange of a gases. Okay, now this deoxygenated blood become oxygenated blood. Now this deoxygenated blood, now this is a pure blood, enters into heart by a vein called as the name of this vein is a pulmonary vein. So as we all know, all the veins carries a deoxygenated blood, right? As we studied in a previous slide, that this carries a deoxygenated blood, right? All the veins, but the exception is this pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein carries a oxygenated, what it carries? It carries a oxygenated blood to the heart. So why the name pulmonary and pulmonary same here, pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein? As I told you, pulmonary is a root word for a lung. So here the blood goes to the lung and through this artery. That is why it is called as a pulmonary artery. And in the lung, this pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood from the lungs. So hence it is called the name pulmonary. That is the name pulmonary. That is because of it carries a blood from a lungs. When this blood, oxygenated blood or pure blood, enters into a body, enters into a left atrium. Now due to here again the atrium contracts, and this blood, due to a pressure generation, this bicuspid valve opens, and this pure blood, that is oxygenated blood, now enters into a left ventricle. Okay, here in a left ventricle, now the left ventricle is completely filled with oxygenated blood. From a left ventricle, there is a one artery called as an aorta. Okay, there is a one artery. The name of that artery is a aorta. So it is called a aorta. It is a artery. It carries a oxygenated blood away from a heart. Now this oxygenated blood in a left ventricle, there is a one artery called as an aorta, which is the largest artery. So remember this fact, it is the largest artery. Right, vena cava is the largest vein and aorta is the largest artery. Now this due to a contract, due to the here this ventricle contracts. Due to the contraction, the oxygenated blood moves out of the heart through a artery called as an aorta. So here the excess pressure is generated in a ventricle due to a contraction. Due to a contraction of a ventricle, the much pressure is generated. Due to the generation of a pressure or a development of a pressure, this oxygenated blood moves out of a heart with a very high pressure away from a heart through an artery called as an aorta. From this artery, that is aorta, the blood reaches to each and every organ of a cell, each and every organ of a body. So this is the entire circulatory system. Why it is called double circulatory system? Because the blood entered 2 times into heart. Okay. So here, from here all the deoxygenated blood entered here in a left atrium, deoxygenated blood, and here atrium contraction. This is, I am repeating this process. Okay, so due to a right it in a right atrium, here there is a deoxygenated blood. Now this deoxygenated blood moves to the right ventricle. Now there is in a right ventricle there is a one vein called as a pulmonary vein. So through this vein this deoxygenated blood reaches to lungs, and in the lungs there is exchange of gases takes place. The oxygenated blood converted into deoxygenated blood converted into oxygenated blood. Now this oxygenated blood again enters into heart. So this is first it came from a vena cava, and here again it enters into a heart by a pulmonary vein. Here this oxygenated blood enters into a pulmonary vein, and in the right atrium there is a contraction, and due to a contraction this oxygenated blood enters into a ventricle, and due to a ventricular contraction and generation of a pressure or a development of a pressure, this blood moves out of a heart through a aorta. This pure blood moves out of a heart through a aorta and reaches each and every body part, okay, through a blood vessels. Okay, so this is, that's why it is called as a double circulation. Here two times, one time the blood enters from a vena cava, and on a second time this, after the purification of a blood, it enters into a heart by a pulmonary vein, and it leaves the blood for two times. Pulmonary arteries say leaves the blood from a pulmonary arteries and then by aorta. So that is why it is called double circulation. So what is the function of a circulatory system? It helps to sustain all the organ systems of a body, and it transport a blood, nutrient, oxygen and hormones, okay, throughout the bodies, and removes the waste product like carbon dioxide and all the toxins which are produced by the body. And it also helps in a repairing of a damaged tissue. So this is a summary of our class. Okay, it is a double circulatory system. Because the, why it is called double circulatory? Because the blood enters two times into the heart. The same blood enters two times into a heart. That is why it is called double circulation. Major component of a circulatory system is a heart, blood and a blood vessel. And the major function, what is the important function? It delivers oxygen and nutrients and removes a waste product. And it is important to each and every cell of a body. So is there any doubt, any questions? Now moving on to the question. Which type of a circulatory system is present in human? As we all know, it is a double circulatory system. Double circulatory system is present in a human heart. Okay, why it is called double circulation? Because the blood enters two times in a heart. Now, what is the outer layer of a heart called? As I told you, it is a very important point. The outer layer of a heart is called pericardium. It is nothing but the outer membrane of a heart. It is called pericardium. Okay, so thank you. That's it for today's class. Thank you.